He told me I was finished, but he didn't realize that while he was gloating, I was already logging into his secret files. "You're finished, Ryan. I told you not to cross me." I sat in my home office, the phone pressed to my ear, listening to the man who had made my sister's life a living hell for 5 years. Greg Miller, the king of real estate in our city. I just got off the phone with the VP at Nexus Corp. Greg gloated, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "I told them about your, let's call it unstable work history. I told them you were a security risk. They pulled your contract, Ryan, effective immediately. That was, what, 80% of your income?" He paused, waiting for the sound of panic. He wanted me to beg. He wanted me to ask him to fix it. That's how Greg operated. He broke your leg so he could be the hero who sold you the crutches. "I see," I said. My voice was flat, monotone. "You see," Greg laughed, a cruel, barking sound. "That's all you have to say? You help Maya divorce me, you help her hide assets, and you think there aren't consequences? I run this town, kid. You're just a freelance IT guy fixing printers. I will starve you out until you and your sister are begging me for scraps." "Are you done, Greg?" I asked, looking at the recording timer on my screen. 1 minute, 42 seconds. "I'm just getting started," he spat. "Enjoy unemployment. And tell Maya I'm cutting her alimony next month. Let's see you pay her legal fees now." He hung up. My name is Ryan Carter. I'm 29 years old. To Greg, and to most of the world, I'm just Ryan the IT guy. The quiet brother-in-law who wears hoodies, fixes Wi-Fi routers, and plays video games. Greg thinks he just destroyed my career. He thinks Nexus Corp fired me because of his influence. Here is what Greg doesn't know. Nexus Corp didn't fire me. They called me 10 minutes before Greg did. They told me he was trying to blackmail them into dropping me. And do you know what David, the VP of Nexus, said? "Let him think he succeeded. We need him comfortable." See, I'm not just an IT guy. I'm a forensic cybersecurity analyst. Companies hire me when they suspect their executives are stealing, lying, or selling secrets. I don't fix printers, I recover deleted hard drives. I track crypto wallets. I find the digital skeletons people hide in their closets. And my current client is Nexus Corp. And the target of my investigation? Prestige Realty Group, Greg's company. Nexus is planning a hostile takeover of Prestige Realty next month. They hired me 6 weeks ago to do a deep dive due diligence on the executive team. They wanted to know if the books were cooked. Greg just tried to get me fired from the job where my only task is to investigate him. I swiveled my chair to my main monitor. I had been keeping my investigation professional, strictly business, looking for procedural errors, compliance issues. But Greg just made it personal. He threatened my livelihood. He threatened my sister. He admitted to tortious interference on a recorded line. I opened the folder on my encrypted drive labeled Project Restige. "Okay, Greg," I whispered to the empty room. "You want to starve us out? Let's see what you're eating." I typed in my admin password. The screen filled with data. I had access to everything. His work email, his company credit card logs, the GPS tracker on his company-issued Range Rover. I started with the credit cards. Greg claimed to be a family man during the divorce proceedings. He told the judge he was heartbroken. Transaction log.
Last 30 days.
The Sapphire Club, Gentlemen's Club, $4,200. Hotel Monaco Suite, $1,500. Tiffany & Co., $3,000 purchase. Durate.
Purchase.
Diamond bracelet.
Maya doesn't wear bracelets. I scrolled down. Venmo transfer, $50 taler a mummuffin time. He was sloppy. Arrogant people always are. They think no one is watching. But this was just scumbag behavior. It wasn't enough to send him to prison. Being a bad husband isn't a felony. I needed more. I needed the kill shot. I needed to find where the money was going. Because Prestige Realty was reporting record profits, but their tax filings showed minimal growth. The math didn't add up. The money was bleeding out somewhere. My phone buzzed. It was Maya. "Maya, Ryan, he just texted me. He said he got you fired. He said we're finished." "Ryan, I'm so sorry. I can't let you lose your job because of me." I felt a spike of anger. Not at Maya, but at the fear Greg had instilled in her. I texted back, "Ryan, I'm not fired, Maya. Trust me. Do not respond to him. Let him gloat. Maya, But how will we pay the lawyer? Ryan, the lawyer is paid. Just get some sleep. I'm working late tonight. I put the phone down. I cracked my knuckles and looked at the screen. Time to go digging, I said. I opened the server logs for Prestige Realty. I was looking for ghost files that had been deleted, but not overwritten. It was going to be a long night, but for the first time in months, I wasn't just working for a paycheck. I was working for revenge. He drove away laughing, thinking he had won, but he forgot that the car he stole was constantly uploading his location to my server. 3:00 a.m. My eyes were burning, but I couldn't look away from the screen. I had found the bleed. It wasn't just skimming commissions. It was way more sophisticated than that. Greg had created a network of ghost rentals. Here's how it worked. Prestige Realty managed high-end luxury apartments for overseas investors who rarely visited. Greg was marking these units as vacant in the official system. But in reality, he was renting them out short-term on platforms like Airbnb under fake names, collecting the cash, and funneling it into a shell company. Shell company name? Blue Horizon Consulting. I traced the IP address used to access the Blue Horizon bank account. It matched the IP address of Greg's home office, McKinley, and the total amount over 3 years? $2.4 million. This wasn't just fraud. This was grand larceny. This was embezzlement. And since he used the internet to do it, it was wire fraud. Gotcha, I whispered, saving the file to an encrypted USB drive. But just as I was about to close the window, my phone rang. It wasn't a business call. It was Maya. She was crying, hysterical. Ryan, he's here. He's in the driveway. My blood went cold. Greg. Yes, he's banging on the door. He says he wants the car back. He says the lease is in his name and he's repossessing it right now. The kids are waking up, Ryan. Lock the door, Maya. Do not open it. I'm 5 minutes away. I grabbed my keys and sprinted out the door. Greg wasn't just financially attacking us anymore. He was physically intimidating her. He knew the police response time in our suburb was slow. He wanted to terrorize her before anyone could stop him. I drove like a maniac. When I pulled up to Maya's small rental house, I saw Greg's massive Range Rover blocking the driveway. He was standing on the porch, pounding on the front door with his fist.
Open up, Maya. It's my car. I paid for it.
I jumped out of my car. I didn't run at him. I walked. Fast, deliberate steps. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Gone, Greg, I shouted. He turned around. His face was red, his tie loosened. He looked drunk on power. Or maybe just drunk. Oh, look who it is, Greg sneered, stepping off the porch. The unemployed bodyguard. What are you going to do, Ryan? Throw a laptop at me? You're violating the restraining order, I said, holding the phone steady. You're within 500 feet. The police are on their way. I'm reclaiming my property, Greg shouted, pointing at Maya's sedan. I pay the lease on that piece of junk. If she wants to leave me, she can walk. He pulled out a spare key from his pocket. He marched over to Maya's car, unlocked it, and got in. Tell your sister this is just the beginning, he yelled through the window as he started the engine. Next week, I'm coming for the house contents. He backed out, tires screeching, and sped away into the night. I didn't chase him. I didn't try to stop him. I walked up to the porch. Maya unlocked the door, her face pale, holding her 4-year-old daughter who was sobbing. She took the car. Maya wept. Ryan, how am I going to get to work? How am I going to take Lily to school? I put my arm around her. You'll use my car. We'll figure it out. He's never going to stop, she whispered. He's going to destroy us piece by piece until we have nothing. No, I said, looking down the street where his taillights had disappeared. He just made a fatal mistake. What? He thinks he's fighting a helpless woman and her broke brother, I said. He doesn't know he just gave me the last piece of the puzzle. The next morning I went back to my data. Greg thought taking the car was a power move. But the car had something in it he forgot about. The built-in GPS navigation system, which was linked to his cloud account, which I had access to. I pulled the logs from the car he just stole, and there it was. Among the recent destinations, there was an address that popped up 3 times a week. 42 Maplewood Drive. It wasn't a property listed with prestige. It wasn't his office. It wasn't the gym. I pulled up the property records. It was owned by an LLC, Blue Horizon Consult. The shell company. Greg wasn't just using Blue Horizon to launder money. He was using it to buy real estate. He had a stash house, a place to hide physical assets, cash, documents, maybe even the ghost rental keys. My email pinged. It was from Greg. Subject, invite. Attachment, PDF. I opened it. It was an invitation to the Real Estate Excellence Awards Gala this Saturday night. The text in the email was simple. I got you 2 tickets. Since you're unemployed, I figured you'd appreciate a free meal. Come watch me win Realtor of the Year. Bring Maya. I want her to see what she walked away from. He was inviting us to his coronation. He wanted to rub our faces in his success. He wanted a public audience for our humiliation. I looked at the invitation. Then I looked at the file on my screen marked Evidence of Felony Frauded. I picked up my phone and texted Maya. Ryan, we need to go shopping. Maya, what? We don't have money for shopping. He took the car, Ryan. Ryan, rent a car, get a dress, a killer dress. We're going to a party on Saturday. Maya, are you crazy? I can't see him. Ryan, you won't just see him, Maya. You're going to watch him fall. I hit send. Greg wanted us at his big night? Fine. I accepted the invitation. But I wasn't going as his guest. I was going as his executioner. He ran to his office to destroy the files, thinking he was saving himself, but he was actually locking himself in a cage of his own making. Sunday morning at 7 a.m., while most people were sleeping off the gala hangover, I was sitting in my command center with a fresh pot of coffee. On my primary monitor, I had a live feed of the Prestige Realty server logs. On my secondary monitor, I had the GPS tracker from Greg's company car. Greg hadn't gone home last night. He had driven aimlessly for 3 hours, parked in a Walmart lot for 2, and now the dot was moving toward his office. My phone rang. Caller ID, Greg Miller. I hit record. Hello, Greg? I answered on the first ring. Name your price, Greg said. No hello, no insults. His voice was hoarse, stripped of all arrogance. How much to kill the audit report? 50K? 100K? I don't need your money, Greg, I said, typing a command to mirror his office desktop to my screen. Everyone needs money, Greg shouted. Don't play saint with me, Ryan. I know you're broke. Nexus hasn't paid you yet. I can wire you $100,000 right now. Cash, untraceable. Just delete the file. Bribery, I noted calmly. That's another felony to add to the list. You're up to 4 now. It's not bribery. It's a consulting fee. Greg sounded desperate. Ryan, listen to me. If Nexus buys the company and finds the offshore account, I go to jail. I lose everything. Do you really want to be the reason your niece and nephew's father goes to prison? I paused. He was using the kids. Typical narcissist. You should have thought about your kids when you were stealing from your clients, I said. Or when you gave Maya that black eye. That was an accident. Goodbye, Greg. No, wait, Ryan, don't I hung up. I watched the GPS dot. He pulled into the Prestige Realty parking lot. A minute later, I saw activity on the server. User G. Miller Adams logged in. He was in his office, on a Sunday, trying to save his skin. I watched as he opened the financial drive. He started selecting folders. 2023 tax filings, commission reports, Cayman invoices. He right-clicked. Delete. I didn't stop him. In cybersecurity, we have a saying, never interrupt your enemy when he is destroying himself. Greg thought he was erasing the evidence. In reality, he was creating a new crime. Deleting corporate data during an active audit is called spoliation of evidence. It proves intent. It proves he knew he was guilty. Smail. And the best part? I had already backed up those files 3 days ago. He was deleting copies. But then, he did something I didn't expect. He opened his email. He started typing a new message. To HR Director subject. Ryan Carter, security breach. I zoomed in. Body. I have discovered that our external consultant, Ryan Carter, has planted malware on our system to extort me. He is demanding $100,000. I am deleting the compromised files to protect client data. We need to call the police on him immediately. My eyes narrowed. He wasn't just trying to cover his tracks, he was trying to frame me. He was going to claim that I was the criminal, that I planted the fake evidence to blackmail him, and that he was the hero deleting the virus. It was a desperate, dangerous gamble. If he got the narrative out first, he could muddy the waters. He could get me arrested, seize my computers, and destroy the real evidence while I was in custody. "Okay, Greg," I whispered. "You want to play hardball?" I couldn't wait for the police anymore. I needed to act now. I opened a terminal window. I had administrative access to the entire building's system. I typed, "Execute Chabrant, lockdown protocol alpha." Enter. On my screen, I saw the logs go crazy. In Greg's office 3 miles away, his computer screen suddenly went black. Then, a giant red padlock icon appeared in the center. System lockdown, security breach detected. User G. Meller flagged for unauthorized deletion. All operations suspended. I picked up my phone and called David at Nexus Corp. "David? Wake up," I said. Ryan, David sounded groggy. "It's Sunday. What's wrong?" "Greg is in the office," I said. "He's attempting to purge the servers, and he's drafting an email to frame me for extortion. I've initiated a remote lockdown, but you need to get down there. Now." "I'm on my way," David said, his voice instantly sharp. "Should I call the cops?" "No," I said, watching Greg try to reboot his computer on my screen. "Call the board. Tell them the deal is off unless they fire him immediately. We need to catch him in the building." "I'll meet you there in 20 minutes, David said. I grabbed my keys. Greg wanted to call the police on me? Fine. I was going to make sure the police were there. But they wouldn't be coming for me. I drove to the Prestige Realty office. I didn't park in the lot, I parked across the street. I saw Greg through the glass front doors. He was pacing the lobby, shouting at his phone. He was locked in, literally. My lockdown protocol didn't just freeze the computers, it disabled the electronic keycard readers on the doors. He was trapped inside his own glass castle. I saw David's car pull up. Then another car, and another. The entire board of directors for Prestige Realty. They looked furious. I got out of my car and crossed the street. Greg saw me coming. He ran to the glass door, banging on it. "You hacked the building," he screamed, his voice muffled by the glass. "You're crazy! Let me out!" I stopped on the sidewalk. I held up my phone. I showed him the screen. It was the recording of our call from this morning, the bribe. "Open the door, Ryan!" "I can't, Greg," I said loud enough for the arriving board members to hear. "The system detected a threat. It's designed to contain the virus until the authorities arrive." David walked up to me. "Is he secure? He can't delete anything, and he can't leave," I said. "And here is the log of him trying to delete the financial records 5 minutes ago." I handed David a tablet. The chairman of the board looked over his shoulder. "He tried to wipe the tax records," the chairman asked, his face turning purple. "Yes," I said. "And he tried to frame me for it." The chairman looked at Greg, who was now sweating profusely behind the glass, realizing that his own board was standing outside with the auditor he tried to fire. "Call the police," the chairman said to David. "I want him arrested for corporate sabotage." I looked at Greg. He stopped banging on the glass. He slumped against the door, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor. He knew it was over. But I wasn't just going to send him to jail. I promised Maya I would ruin him. I walked up to the glass. I put my hand against it. Greg looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. "Why?" he mouthed. I leaned in. "Because you made my sister cry," I said. "And because you called me just an IT guy." He ran to his office to destroy the files, thinking he was saving himself, but he was actually locking himself in a cage of his own making. Said, Sunday morning, 6:42 a.m. While the rest of the city was sleeping off their Saturday night, I was sitting in my home office with a mug of black coffee, watching a blinking red dot on a map. It was Greg's GPS tracker. He hadn't gone home after the gala. The dot showed him driving aimlessly for 3 hours, stopping at a 24-hour diner, and then parking in a desolate lot near the industrial district. He was spiraling. My phone rang. Caller ID. Greg Miller. I put my coffee down. I checked that my recording software was active. I let it ring twice. Let him sweat. I answered. "This is Ryan." "Name your price," Greg said. No hello, no insults. His voice sounded like sandpaper, rough, exhausted, and stripped of all the arrogance he had worn like armor the night before. Good morning to you too, Greg, I said calmly. Cut the crap, Greg snapped, though his voice wavered. You know about Maplewood. You know about Blue Horizon. Fine, you did your homework, you dug up some dirt, now what do you want? Is this about the job? I can call Nexus right now. I can tell them I made a mistake. I can get you your contract back with a 20% raise. I don't need your help to get a job, Greg, I said. I'm already employed. Then money, he said quickly, desperately. I have cash. Liquid. $50,000? $100,000. I can have it in a duffel bag within an hour. Just hand over the hard drive and we forget this ever happened. I leaned back in my chair. You're attempting to bribe an auditor during an active investigation, I stated, my voice devoid of emotion. That's a federal crime, Greg. I'm adding it to the file. Don't give me that auditor trash, Greg shouted, losing his composure. You're my ex-wife's loser brother. You're shaking me down. Listen to me, Ryan. You don't know who you're messing with. The people I move money for, they aren't nice people. If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
Is that a threat?
It's a promise, Greg yelled. You think you're smart? You think you're safe behind your screen? If this gets out, if Nexus finds out, I will ruin you. I will frame you for everything. I'll tell them you set up the shell companies. I'll tell them you hacked me to plant the evidence. You could try, I said. But it's hard to frame someone when you've just confessed on a recorded line. Silence. Heavy, terrified silence. You recorded this. Greg whispered. I record everything, Greg. I'm an IT guy. We like backups. I heard a sound on the other end, a car door slamming, an engine revving. You're dead, Greg hissed. You hear me? You're finished. He hung up. I looked at the GPS map on my screen. The red dot was moving again. Fast. It wasn't heading toward my house. It wasn't heading toward Maya's. It was heading toward downtown, toward the Prestige Realty headquarters. Gotcha, I whispered. Greg had realized that bribery wouldn't work. He had realized that intimidation wouldn't work. Now, he was left with only one option. Destruction. He was going to the office to wipe the servers. He thought he could physically delete the files. He thought if he smashed the hard drives or ran a secure erase program, the evidence of the ghost rentals and the money laundering would disappear. In the legal world, that's called spoliation of evidence. It's the desperate act of a guilty man, and it's his naples with sears, and it was the Mesish Konu. And it was exactly what I was waiting for. If I turned him in now, with just the financial records, he might lawyer up. He might claim clerical error. He might blame an accountant. But if he is caught in the act of destroying evidence after being warned, that proves criminal intent. That makes it impossible to defend. I picked up my phone and called David at Nexus Corp. David, I said, it's happening. Ideally, I'd like to be sleeping, Ryan. David groaned. What is happening? Greg is en route to the Prestige offices, I said. He just tried to bribe me. When that failed, he threatened to frame me. Now he's going to purge the servers. On a Sunday, David was instantly awake. Yes, I'm tracking him. He'll be there in 10 minutes. I need you to authorize protocol lockdown. Do it, David said. I'll call the board. We'll meet you there. David, I added, bring the police. Tell them you have an executive committing corporate sabotage in real time. I hung up and turned back to my computer. I opened a terminal window connected to the Prestige Realty network. I had admin access. I could see everything. I saw Greg's car pull into the parking garage on the GPS. I saw his keycard swipe at the back entrance. Access granted. Greg Miller, 7:15 a.m. He was inside. I watched the server logs. User Jamiller logged in at Workstation 1 CEO office. He was panicked. He wasn't even using a proxy. I saw him open the shared drive. I saw him select the folder labeled Accounting 223. I hovered my finger over the Enter key. I could stop him right now. I could lock him out instantly, but not yet. I needed him to click delete. I needed the log to show the attempt. System log user Jamiller initiated delete command on 4,500 files. And her There it is, I said. Now he was guilty. I pressed enter. Lockdown, Akamana. It was time to close the cage. He was screaming behind the glass, trapped in the office he used to rule, while I stood outside with the police and watched his empire crumble. Inside the corner office on the 40th floor, Greg Miller was pressing delete. I wasn't in the room, but I saw it all on my laptop screen from across the street. The progress bar on his screen hit 10%, 20%. He was sweating. He was probably thinking about how he was going to spin this. He'd tell the board it was a server glitch. He'd tell Maya he lost the car keys. He'd tell himself he was a survivor. Then I hit enter. On Greg's screen, the progress bar froze. The deleting window vanished. In its place, a massive red window popped up. It didn't have an X to close it.
Security alert system lockdown initiated. Untarded data purge detected. User G. Miller Screckens revoked.
I watched the live feed from the security camera in his office. Greg stared at the screen. He clicked the mouse frantically. He smashed the escape key. Nothing happened. He reached down and yanked the power cord out of the wall. The screen went black. He stood up, panting, looking relieved. He thought he had killed the machine, but he forgot about the building's command. I typed the next command. Execute. Facility lockdown Zone 4. Greg grabbed his briefcase. He ran to the glass door of his office. He swiped his keycard to exit. Beep, beep, beep. Red light. Access denied. He swiped again, harder. Beep, beep, beep. He grabbed the handle and yanked. The magnetic locks held firm with 1,200 pounds of force. He was trapped, like a fish in a very expensive bowl. I closed my laptop. Showtime, I said. I got out of my car and walked across the street to the Prestige Realty entrance. 2 black sedans had just pulled up. David Sterling stepped out of the first one. The chairman of the Prestige board, an elderly man named Mr. Henderson who did not like scandals, stepped out of the second. Is he in there? David asked, buttoning his coat against the morning chill. He's in the executive suite, I said. He tried to delete the financial records at 7:18 a.m. The system flagged it as a malicious insider threat and locked him down. Did he succeed? Mr. Henderson asked, his voice gravelly. No, sir. I handed him a tablet. Here is the log. He attempted to delete 4,500 files related to tax filings and Blue Horizon Consulting. The system preserved the data before locking him out. Blue Horizon, Henderson muttered. The shell company. Let's go, David said. We walked into the building. I used my admin override to open the main lobby doors. We took the elevator to the 40th floor in silence. The only sound was the hum of the lift and the simmering rage of the chairman. When the elevator doors opened, we could hear him. Greg was screaming. He was kicking the glass door of his office. Let me out! Help! The system is hacked! We walked down the hallway. Greg saw us coming. For a second, relief washed over his face. He thought he was being rescued. Mr. Henderson, Greg yelled, pressing his palms against the glass. Thank God! You have to help me! The system went crazy! It's a cyber attack! That man, he pointed a trembling finger at me. Ryan! He hacked the building! He's holding me hostage!
We stopped 5 feet from the door.
I didn't say a word. I just stood there, hands in my pockets, looking at him with the same expression I used when I fixed a jammed printer. Boredom. Mr. Henderson stepped forward. He looked at the shattered computer monitor on the floor where Greg had thrown it in a rage. He looked at the open safe in the corner, stuffed with cash Greg had been trying to pack. He didn't hack the building, Greg, Mr. Henderson said loudly through the glass. He secured it. He's lying! Greg screamed, sweat dripping down his nose. He's trying to frame me. I was just working. I came in early to organize files. By deleting them, David Sterling asked, holding up the tablet. We have the logs, Greg. We watched you do it. Greg froze. He looked at the tablet. He looked at me. The realization hit him. I hadn't just caught him. I had baited him. I had let him walk into the office, let him log in, and let him dig his own grave so deep he could never climb out. Ryan, Greg said, his voice changing tone. It wasn't angry anymore. It was pleading. Ryan, tell them. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. I can explain. We're family, right? Maya, think about Maya. I walked up to the glass. I looked him in the eye. I am thinking about Maya, I said. I'm thinking about how you took her car yesterday. I'm thinking about how you told her she was worthless. I'm thinking about how you threatened to starve us out. I was angry, Greg begged. I didn't mean it. Intent doesn't matter, Greg, I said coldly. Evidence does, and I have terabytes of it. Greg slumped against the door. He slid down to the floor, burying his face in his hands. Open the door, Ryan, Mr. Henderson ordered. Not yet, sir, I said, checking my watch. Why not? Because I pointed out the window to the street below. Flashing blue lights were reflecting off the skyscrapers. 3 squad cars were screeching to a halt in front of the building. I called the police 10 minutes ago, I explained. I reported an active burglary and corporate sabotage in progress. I think it's best if we let the professionals open the door. Greg looked up. He heard the sirens, too. He looked at his trophy shelf. He looked at his expensive leather chair. He looked at the empire he had built on lies. And then he looked at me, the IT guy he had tried to crush. He didn't scream anymore. He just sat there, waiting for the inevitable. The elevator dinged. Police, a voice shouted. Hands where we can see them. Expound. I stepped back to let the officers pass. It's the man in the glass office, I told the sergeant. He's secure, but you might want to check his briefcase for cash before you book him. He told me I was nothing as they dragged him away, but 8 months later, I stood on the lawn of his mansion with the keys in my hand. The police sergeant looked at the locked glass door. He looked at Greg, who was pacing inside like a trapped animal. Then he looked at me. Can you open this, son? The sergeant asked. Yes, sir, I said. System override. Law enforcement protocol. I tapped a button on my phone. The magnetic locks disengaged with a heavy clunk. The glass door slid open. Greg didn't run. He couldn't. He just stood there, clutching his briefcase to his chest, the briefcase filled with the cash he had tried to steal from the safe. Mr. Miller, the sergeant said, stepping into the office. Put the bag down. It's my money, Greg shrieked, clutching it tighter. I earned it! You can't take it! This is a setup! That man, he pointed a shaking finger at me. He's a hacker! He's a criminal mastermind! Put the bag down, the sergeant repeated, his hand resting on his taser. Greg dropped the bag. It hit the floor and the latch popped open. Stacks of $100 bills spilled out onto the carpet. Mr. Henderson, the chairman, shook his head in disgust. Embezzlement in plain sight, disgraceful. The officers spun Greg around. Click, click. The handcuffs went on. As they marched him out of the office, Greg locked eyes with me. He wasn't screaming anymore. He looked small, defeated, and confused. You're just an IT guy, he whispered as he passed me. How? I looked at him. I am just an IT guy, Greg, I said softly, but you forgot the first rule of IT. What? He croaked. Users always leave a trace. I watched as they put him in the elevator. The doors closed, sealing his fate. 8 months later. The auctioneer's voice was fast and rhythmic. Sold to the gentleman in the back for $2 million. I lowered my paddle. I stood on the lawn of 132 Maplewood Drive, the stash house. The mansion Greg had bought with his stolen money. The place where he hid his secrets while Maya struggled to pay rent on a 2-bedroom apartment. The feds had seized it. They auctioned it off to pay back the victims of Greg's fraud. And, thanks to the very substantial whistleblower reward I received from the IRS, 15% of the recovered $2.4 million tax fraud, plus my bonus from Nexus Corp for saving them from a bad merger, I was the highest bidder. I walked up the driveway. Maya pulled up in her car, the sedan Greg had stolen that night, which the police had returned to her months ago. She got out, looking confused. Ryan, she asked, looking at the sold sign, what are you doing here? I thought we hated this place. We hated what it represented, I said, handing her a set of keys. But the foundation is good. The roof is new, and the school district is excellent for Lily. Maya looked at the keys. She looked at the house. Her eyes went wide. Ryan. No. You didn't. I bought it, I said. It's in a trust. Your trust. You and Lily can live here rent-free for as long as you want. I can't accept this, she started crying. It's Greg's house. Not anymore, I smiled. Now it's your house. We're going to repaint the walls. We're going to burn his furniture, and you're going to raise your daughter in the luxury he tried to keep for himself. Maya hugged me. It wasn't a desperate hug like the night he took the car. It was a hug of relief, of safety. Where is he? She asked into my shoulder. Federal Correctional Institution, Lompoc, I said, sentenced to 7 years. No parole for wire fraud. Does he know? She asked, looking at the house. I sent him a postcard, I admitted, a picture of you and Lily standing on the porch, just so he knows the property is under new management. Maya laughed. It was a real laugh. I walked her to the front door. She unlocked it. It was the first time she had entered a house without fear in 5 years. I didn't go in. I had one last stop to make. I drove to the Nexus Corp headquarters. David Sterling was waiting for me in his office. You're a legend, Ryan, David said, handing me a contract. The board wants you on retainer, Permanent Chief Information Security Officer. Name your salary. I looked at the contract. It was a lot of money. A corner office. A title. But then I thought about Greg. I thought about how his title, his office, and his visibility made him arrogant. It made him a target. I'll take the retainer, I said, but I don't want the title, and I don't want the office. What do you want? David asked. I want to stay a consultant, I said. I want to stay in the background. I want people to think I'm just the guy fixing the Wi-Fi.
Why?
Because I stood up, buttoning my hoodie. When people think you're nobody, they show you everything. I walked out of the building. I got into my car. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from my server. New client request. Forensic audit for a Fortune 500 CEO. I smiled. Greg tried to ruin me by calling me just an IT guy. He thought it was an insult. He didn't realize it was my superpower. The world is run by servers, passwords, and data. And as long as arrogant men like Greg keep thinking they are above the code, I'll be there to hit delete. If you enjoyed this story of payback, please hit that like button and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's the best way you've ever dealt with a bully? I read every one. Thanks for watching.